I'd like to welcome you out to the Planning Commission, January 25th, 2022. I'd like to open it this evening. Roll call.
Chairman Cox.
Here.
Vice Chairman Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Hayman. Here. And Commissioner Mondragon.
Here.
Four present. We have a quorum.
Commissioner Ferris, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Absolutely. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Do I have an approval of the agenda?
So move.
Second. Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. Do I have approval of the minutes of October 26, 2021?
I move. I'll
Second.
Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mondragon.
Aye.
4 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. And we now come to the public comment section of our agenda. Persons wishing to address the Commission on matters that are within the Commission's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Planning Commission may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Is there anybody that wishes to address the Commission? Seeing none, we will close the public comment section and move on to discussion and action items. First item on our agenda is appointment of chair and vice chair. Do I have a nomination for chair for the next year?
Warren, I'd like to nominate you to hang on to the chair position if you would entertain that.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Bernie, Vanessa?
I say you.
I nominate you.
I've already done it.
So, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have to do a roll call, or can we do all
Let's
in
just
favor?
do all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Vice Chair, Bill, would you like to continue service?
Absolutely.
I nominate you. Do I have a second or any other nominations?
I second it.
Is that okay?
That's perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, committee assignments. Look in your folder, probably about 4 pages back. It's on the back side. Okay. And this is what we currently have as committee assignments. We have William in infrastructure and we have William in quality of life. I see that we have Vanessa is in quality of life and city org. I have Bill Ferris in city org and in economic development. Bernie, you're in economic development, and that's your only committee?
Yes, I'm on another one, but I think it doesn't meet.
Okay. So how often is quality of life and city org meeting?
Every month.
Every month? So we are meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bernie, how's your time?
I could go to another committee. I'd like to stay on the economic development. I really enjoy going to that one. Quality of life, was that your question?
Okay. Well, this is what I have. I'll take on another assignment, but I can't do both assignments in infrastructure. And without giving somebody a third assignment, how would you feel about infrastructure?
That would be good with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am suggesting, and I would like an approval from the committee, or not committee, but from the commission, if we relieve William of those two responsibilities to give him time to finish his master's.
I agree.
Okay? And so I don't want this to be negative at all.
Do we want to leave him on quality of life?
Well, I was gonna come down and do quality of life for him
Oh, okay.
while he's in the program. So I'm not necessarily saying we take him off. We'll just fill in for that period of time. So we'll take the assignment right now.
Can we assign you guys as alternates for that reason, or do we have to assign?
No, and also anytime if you can't make it to a committee and if you can't
Yes.
contact the secretary for the committee, you can always contact me and I can contact one of the other commissioners and try to find a replacement too. So if it becomes problematic or if you have something come up and you can't make it, always reach out and then we can fill that space.
So you want to stay, Bill, you want to stay in the committees that you already have?
I do.
Okay. So Bernie, if you would come into infrastructure with me, and then I will fill in for him in quality of life.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good. Yes.
Is that approved by the commission?
Yes.
Okay. So there's committee assignments. Moving on to our item 4, which is the 2021 General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report, and I'll turn that over to staff.
All right. Good evening, commissioners and members of the public. So tonight I'm going to present the 2021 Annual Progress Report for the General Plan and the Housing Element. This report covers the period of January 1st to December 31st, 2021. The City of Ridgecrest General Plan was adopted in 2009 and it covers until 2030. The housing element is part of the general plan, but it is adopted separately, and so our housing element was adopted in 2015 and it covers the years 2015 to 2023. The annual progress report for the general plan and the housing element are due to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, which is the HCD, and the California Office of Planning and Research, or the ORP, by April 1st of each year. So this report is how we demonstrate that Planning Commission and City Council's actions are implementing our general plan. The housing element report also fulfills the state requirements on reporting of housing development. So our general plan includes the land use element, military sustainability, community design, circulation, open space and conservation, health and safety, and housing. This reporting year, we had several amendments that were adopted to the zoning code to reflect some state regulations. Definitions were added for various housing-related regulations. As you guys might recall, some of those are like the supportive housing and target populations. In addition, we amended the municipal code to reflect some current regulations for family daycare homes and also for accessory dwelling units. A full listing of all the actions that were taken by City Council and Planning Commission and implementation of the general plan are included in the written report, but I'm just going to highlight some of these actions by the elements. So for the land use element, Planning Commission approved the site plan for KFC and Dutch Brothers. These developments made use of infill property, they improved the retail tax base, and they also met consumer demands. Implementation actions for the circulation element include some of the numerous streets projects that were undertaken this year and also some of the transit activities. The health and safety element actions included adoption of the Kern multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan and the school resource officer. Some community design actions were in site plan review, and that includes like the screening of the mechanical and some of the new trash enclosures. For the open space and conservation element, some of those actions are Parks and Recreation Department had several grants that they pursued to improve some of the public facilities, but it also includes the historic USO historic designation, and then the city giving a signature event to the Petroglyph Festival. Planning addresses the military sustainability by our dark sky ordinances and also through discouragement of some incompatible land uses. And Planning Commission approved 3 track maps for housing developments, and that furthered some of our housing element and goals and policies. So for our housing element progress report, this is prepared using forms and templates that are provided by the Housing and Community Development Department. Some of these charts that follow summarize the findings of this report. Planning Commission approved 3 track maps, so that was a total of 148 entitlements for single-family residential units. The Building Department issued 91 permits and 53 certificate of occupancies for single-family residential units. Multifamily had 6 permits for 2 to 4 unit developments, and 2 units were issued certificate of occupancies. The Mojave View Apartments contributed 75 units of multifamily, and we also had 1 application for an accessory dwelling unit. Housing by affordability is shown here. So the Mojave View Apartments was issued 50 permits for very low and 25 for low-income housing units, and those are deed restricted, so those will be permanent. Infill accounted for another 44 moderate income units, and the remaining units were above average income. To summarize the housing applications, there was 99 applications submitted for a total of 321 new housing units. Of those, 47 were infill, and building permits were issued for 173 housing units, and of those, 55 certificates of occupancy were completed. So moving on to the regional housing needs allocation progress. So Kern Council of Governments prepares our regional housing needs allocation plan. So the current plan was adopted in 2015, and Ridgecrest's share of the regional housing needs was 1,345 units. Those are broken down by very low, low, moderate, and above average. Unfortunately, the city doesn't have any records from 2015 on the completed number of housing units, but from our calculations forward, we kind of do know that we had about 458 total units added from 2016 to now. So the regional housing needs allocation plan is currently being updated by Kern COG, and they expect to adopt the new plan in July of this year. The city will obviously then begin revisions to our housing element and update that, and we will be completing that by December of 2023. Another part of this report is our surplus property. This year we did surplus 3 single-family zoned properties and 1 commercial zone property. The state has lots of requirements about how we surplus property, and all of those procedures were fulfilled. We circulated it with the HCD for affordable housing. So what we report here is the properties that we sold and what they're being used for. So all 3 of those single family are intended to be used for single family residential. And then the commercial property is kind of in the process of being sold now, and so that should be completed here shortly.
And what was the intent of that?
Sorry, what?
The commercial property, what was the,
It will be commercial.
so for commercial development?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next is goals for the next year. So some of our goals for 2022 will be further adoption of some of those new state regulations and some of those regulations that were in our housing element from 2015, so that when we go to the new housing element, we won't have any old stuff kind of needed to be caught up. So we'll also be bringing forward this year some amendments in regards to SB 9. Those include increasing some time for track map approvals and for extension periods. So you'll see that for consideration this year. We'll also continue to work with the Navy on the ACUS map. Now, they are changing the airfields and stuff, so that will be continuous, that we just continue to work with them until they've adopted a new study. And finally, we have several more properties that we've identified that could be increased for density or that could be changed from commercial to residential. So again, that will be before you for consideration as well. So that concludes the annual progress report, and the resolution that's before you is a recommendation by Planning Commission for City Council approval. And if you have any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
Would you give the commission a definition of surplus property? Is that property that has been forfeited and is city-owned now?
So surplus property is any property that the city owns that's surplus to our needs, meaning we can't use it for any public facilities. We don't have any use for it. So the state has new requirements that they started last year that anything that we deem surplus by city council action, that we circulate to the HCD for affordable housing projects consideration. So they have a long list of developers, and we circulate that. And there is a 60-day period for them to notify us that they want to build something or buy it, purchase it, and then City Council has to consider it for affordable housing projects first. If that period passes, so once the 60 days passed and nobody has contacted for affordable housing, then we can list, which is what we did. So last year when we did the annual progress report, at that time you had these surplus properties listed in there. And then when I took it to council then officially surplus them. And then that started the clock once I sent the notice of availability. It started the clock for developers to notify us. And then once the 60 days had passed, then we went ahead and proceeded with the process to sell them. So we listed them on the open market. So so not part of this tonight, but when I take it to council, there may be surplus property added, but at this time there isn't.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions on her report? I think it was very good. Thank you. Very thorough. So I move that we approve resolution 22-01 and present this to City Council. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris?
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman?
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Do I have any commissioner items, things that you would like to bring before us?
We had previously discussed a sign ordinance, and now I understand that we do have a code enforcement officer that's back. So is that something that we will see in the future?
Yeah, so on my long list of goals
Got it.
for this year is the sign ordinance. Is there anything in particular that you want to see? Because the component that I was looking to address is electronic signs. Our ordinance is really outdated, and we don't address it at all. And if we do, it's not in a favorable way. And, you know, technology's advanced a lot, so I'd like you guys have an opportunity to look at some newer regulations The hospital wants to put in an electronic sign. I don't think that they are, as much of a risk factor as when it was originally written. So,
Okay. I was more the temporary signs and having those abated was the issue when it came up originally.
yeah. So as long as code enforcement is,
Understood.
if we know, then we can go out and address that. I know we were pretty on top of, for a while, any of these signs that get put on the fences around town. And we had kind of resolved that, but it's just a reoccurring problem. And that could be something that might need like community outreach, where we kind of inform the public a little differently.
So I would take it from the comment on looking at some of our outdated sign ordinances that maybe that should come before us and we refine that a little bit, make recommendation to the city council.
Yeah. So I have, we'll probably talk about it a lot because there's a lot of different ways. And I have some stuff from other cities and I have stuff from the Planning Association for some updates. And so it'll be, what you guys want to see. And we'll talk about it a lot and see how you guys want it. What is the kind of vision you guys want to see for our signs? Do you want to see electronic signs everywhere or do you want to limit them? It will heavily depend on how you want to see it progress.
Well, and I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but, I've seen in the past some of our signage ordinances to where I've seen these electronic signs that are fairly low.
Right.
And I could mention some, but I don't think that would be wise.
Right.
But the problem I have with being too low, it is nice that maybe it's right in line of your vision as you're driving down the road, but it's also can be a distraction that far versus a deliberate look at an electronic sign. And so I'd like to see what we've got as a standard and where we might like to see it go.
Yeah.
To have the visibility, but not interfere with traffic at all.
And that would be my intention, is to see what you guys really think about some of the different ordinances that are out there and how we can implement it. Because, maybe we don't want to see an electronic sign all the way down China Lake Boulevard, so it will depend. And then maybe there's additional setbacks that need to be, required for that. So we'll look at a lot of different standards and kind of really talk about how you guys want to see that.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay, so I've asked Heather to talk to us a little bit in the staff items about the new requirements on our trash and biological, the things that have come down from the state.
Yeah, so mandatory organics is coming. Now, you'll see this in more detail from Megan at the next city council meeting, but I know in the past we've had some discussions about businesses. And so I just kind of want to go over that again. Businesses that meet a threshold have been required to comply with organics since 2016. So this isn't necessarily new for them. And I know when we're thinking of these trash containers and these areas for the trash enclosures, the organics bin is usually like what we have at our houses. It's a cart. We're not talking about an extra dumpster. I will say that the engineering design standards are in progress right now through Public Works, and when they were doing the trash enclosures this year, I did ask that they go ahead and make the standard to accommodate organics for fast food. Now, not everybody, I'm assuming, is going to need organics. I would guess, I'm not completely proficient in it, but I would assume that your small business on Balsam Street that doesn't serve food probably doesn't need an organics. I don't know. And I'm assuming there's waivers for them to qualify not to. But for fast food in particular, and for restaurants, they've been required to do this for some time. And, in the past, we've had to kind of think about parking. Should they need to expand, at some of the locations that are in existence, if they need to enlarge their trash enclosure, we may have to limit a parking space, and we have done that to accommodate a larger trash enclosure. That doesn't so much apply for organics, but definitely for recycling when you start to see them bring in two, dumpsters for recycling and trash. But organics is just a cart, so it shouldn't impact, as far as space and as far as our site plans, it shouldn't impact them very much. Now, for residential, yes, mandatory organics will be a thing. You will all eventually have an organics cart at your homes. And I would love for you to participate in City Council and find out all of the details on that.
Okay. Yeah, I would be interested in how the restaurants are actually handling it, especially fast food.
You know what?
At this moment, the reason why I ask is imagine going to McDonald's and your kid doesn't eat everything, you throw it in the trash.
So,
are they requiring them to go through the trash and pick out the organic?
yes. So I was just at a franchise chain out of town, and they have their trash or their refuse set up with 3 different compartments, and it's very clearly labeled with both pictures and words of what goes in the 3 different compartments. And then that way patrons will go up and clear their tray as they do. And I did, being that I know about this, I did look in and see, and it didn't seem like anybody had an issue with this. And this is a fast food. So it's all across California. I think that they're gonna, but your franchisees, we're gonna have, and that's your fast food mostly, I would assume that they're gonna have their own kind of container methods that they're gonna be using in California, so it shouldn't be extraordinary. But yeah, I did look, because I was excited to see it, honestly.
Okay. Any other items maybe from the commission? If not, staff, any other items you would like to talk to us about?
So Dutch Brothers should be getting their final this week. Arby's is just under building final review. They've passed engineering and planning, so they're moving along.
Well, good. All right then, we will close our meeting today at 6:28.